guys, welcome to the spoil review of Morbius. So you have not seen the movie yet, make sure you watch the spoiler free video or watch some of my other videos, but make sure you like and subscribe for more. So yeah, Morbius, a lot of people did not like this movie. I thought it wasn't bad. I mean, there was problems that, like I said in the spoiler-free version, but like there wasn't that much more problems with it than any other superhero movie out there. I know a lot of people always point to the MCU and they made 20 plus films, but yet majority of them was pretty decent, and this film was decent enough. The fight scenes was kind of good and stuff. I think a lot of people problem is that it reminded them of 80s, 90s, maybe early 2000 comic book stuff, where I talked about the Beef and Vendetta when he throws the knives, throws it, it's all super speed and it slows down when the knives get closer to the camera, and then it speeds back up. They do a lot of that kind of stuff. I always thought those things were kind of cool, and especially when they are on the ship, on the boat, and Morbius is taking out the monsters guys one by one. He's hiding in the shadow, he drops out, and attacks them and kills them, then goes on. The next one is a lot like a scary movie, and that was really cool and stuff. And it seemed doing the teleporting mess, or he teleports from one building to another building or whatever. It was actually pretty cool, and seeing him when he falls time to fly, it was actually very good. I mean, there's a lot of moments that was very good. I just think that overall tone of the movie, the overall movie just wasn't the best, the acting, I think all the acting was great and stuff. Matt Smith as the villain was excellent. Van Buren, I think some people may not like that a lot, but yeah, I think he did great. And he was cunning and menacing. In one scene, he's in the dark and stuff, and he's not really doing anything, but he's just having a normal conversation. You can tell his presence. He could snap any moment, kill someone. There was two different scenes like that, and eventually he does kill in one scene. It just makes you hate the Rise of Skywalker because he was rumored to be it is a fact that he was a villain in the Rise of Skywalker, and it was all cut out, but it was rumored that he was supposed to be Grand Admiral Thrawn, which was one of the best villains that came out of the expanded universe. Now I think Jared Leto was great as Dr. Michael Morbius. A lot of people, I don't know, I think they had this weird hatred for him or something. I'm not the biggest Jared Leto's fan, but I thought he actually did fine as this anti-hero type character. Jared Leto doesn't look like he'd be the type of guy that would be a super smart, intelligent doctor, but he does play it very well. Then he plays, this tortured monster when he turns into the vampire and stuff very well, so I don't understand people's hatred for this movie, especially if anyone talks about the acting in it. Jared Harris was in it. He did fine. He always does fine in everything I ever seen him in. Tyrese Gibson, which I didn't put in the spoil free review, which I really should. I really like him and his partner. They play detectives, and he plays Simon Shroud, who used to been a CIA agent, now a cop who worked a lot with Black Widow. So I think we can easily see him in more than one movie, especially now we have all these different villain type movies, solo movies. So maybe there would be one where he teams up with Spider-Man to crack down all these new villains that's starting to grouped together. So I think that'd be kind of cool, and I'm sure people are going to talk about the chick that played Martine Bancroft. I think she was kind of useless in this film, especially being the love interest and stuff. Like, it wasn't that she's a bad actress or anything, it just like, it seemed like they didn't know what to do with her. She just kind of always seemed to be in the sideline, and like typically the love interests and stuff and the female characters are always the ones that gives the story the emotional drive throughout the film, and I just didn't feel that with her. But did you guys see Zendaya's? Neither did I, but I'm sure someone's gonna bring her up in these damn reviews, because every single review they always do. But yeah, the acting in this movie was actually great. Again, it's really sad to see that this movie did not come out as good as it did. Like, I was going back and looking at the trailers and stuff, and there's a lot that seems was cut out, and I feel like that may have caused more problems than it did save. It just seems like in the trailers it was going to be a very good, solid movie, you know, and maybe there will be a director's cut. I don't know. Hashtag release the Morbius cut. But it did have some flaws, and let's go through. Like I said, I felt the director, like, there was only a few interviews he was in they had with him talking about Morbius, and maybe because he's, I think, Sweden, so maybe it just the way he talks and stuff. I myself just did not feel like he was very passionate about this film, or was very inspired by the source material, by the Marvel comics of it. And he said he was a huge comic book fan. He said he was a huge horror fan. Apparently was a lot of different references to scary movies that he put out throughout the film and stuff, and I didn't really notice that many. I don't know, I just didn't feel like he was all that passionate about it, you know. And I think that's, you know, you look at stuff like Dune, you know, Zack Snyder's Justice League, why those movies were so great is because they were so passionate for those films. And I don't know, yeah. And then you got the writing duo that did stuff like Dracula's Untold, and what was that one, The Last Witch Hunt on and stuff, and they did the story, just the story, but they didn't actually write it. But the Power Rangers reboot, really all of them was pretty decent film, just like this one. And they had that comic book, you know, kind of style to it. So like, I can understand why they was hired, you know, to do a comic book movie, but I feel like those stuff is always just really decent, and if not mediocre. Like, I don't know, I don't think they good enough really for Hollywood, you know. I think they'd be better off doing comic books themselves, or doing video games where the writing isn't as important, because it just seemed like the movie's always a little underdeveloped, especially the plot, the characters and stuff, and there's plenty of times where dialogue just doesn't connect with each other. It's like two different write-ons, which it is, two different write-ons writing, you know, like you have Morbius and the detective talking, but it seems like only Matt Sarma, or however you say his name, is writing Morbius lines. Buck Sharpless is writing the detective's lines, but they're not in the same room talking about who's talking to who. They just say detective is interrogating Morbius. And so it seems like that. I think Batman Arkham City was kind of like the origin, where like he'd be talking to one of the police officers, and what Batman's saying and what the police officers were saying was like a little disconnected. I don't know. And one thing that I didn't put in the spoiler-free review is that like with the Batman, it was like the overall look of the movie was much darker than what this was, even though this was supposed to be a villain. But like, there was parts where you just was actually quite hard to see, because it was just black on black on black. There was where the Batman absorbed each other. Like, I can't remember what I said in my Batman review, but like there was an actual source of lights coming from different angles, but still having this sheer darkness to it, this pure darkness to the scene. But yet everything is kind of like one of those old, German expression films like Nosferatu. It's funny how the Batman is more like one of the most famous vampire movies of all time than a vampire villain movie. Again, I feel like it's decent filmmakers making a decent movie, and I think this is just another example of Sony's problem, like Sony Marvel movies not being able to be Disney Marvel movies, is because they lack that a good judgment of character in the filmmakers and the writers that they choose. I mean, look at Amazing Spider-Man. The main problem was that they had the wrong director, wrong writing team creating the film. It wasn't the actors and stuff, or necessarily the plot line. It was just people that didn't know anything about the source material. And actually, the director, he was like at the bottom of the list for Sony. They actually talked to many other people before they hire him. But like I said, and this is why I don't really blame the filmmakers so much. They was hired to do a job, and they did their job, but was they right for the job though? And that's Sony's as the boss to make sure they get the right people for the right job. So you can't really blame filmmakers and writing team for the film failure. That's why I put a lot of blame on Sony, especially how they kept moving it back, especially to the April 1st, release date. It should have just came out in January 2022, and a lot of people forgot this film even exists because it was delayed so much, and the January 22 would have been perfect. I still don't understand why they felt the need to put it back again. They said it was to give Spider-Man more time in the theaters, but really we started to see it after a month. It started to die down. A lot of people still was watching it, but the hype of it was starting to die down after a month. And the same thing with the Batman as well. So like January would have been just fine, or February, you still, it would have capitalized on some massive success as Spider-Man was having, the only movie in the pandemic to make $1 billion at the box office, and Batman looked like it's not even gonna do that. So it was really stupid of them to put on April 1st, and like I said, you go on Twitter, a lot of people thought it was a joke because it was on April 1st, and it made no sense that they did that. And then I think I talked a little bit about this in the Halo video, that they always try to make it for a broader audience, and one way you do that is to make it PG-13. But it's a vampire movie, it's a villain movie, it really should have been rated R. But then again, something I noticed while going back and watching Dracula's Untold, that movie was much more violent than what this movie is. So there was still a lot of things that they could have done to be more violent and stuff in it without it being rated R. It's just so weird that it's a vampire movie where there is no blood, and that's part of the reason why they have the artificial blood thing, because they had to come up with an idea. It's like, well, he's a vampire and he needs green blood. How are we going to green blood without having to see green blood? It's like fake blood. But yeah, it's a decent movie. Did you like it? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments, and make sure you like and subscribe, and check out the links in the description for a bunch of cool stuff. You have the Geeking Around network website where you can get more reviews and articles and videos. Got my Star Wars comic, Kira, a Star Wars story link, and a new part 2 will be coming out as a web novel very soon. There's also my gear list. So if you ever want to become a YouTuber or podcast on, there's the links to Amazon where you can purchase those things, and as well as some of my drawing stuff that I used to draw my comics and so many other cool things you have to go into the subscription to check out. Well, that's all the time we have for now. Make sure you like and subscribe for more videos. There's going to be a whole bunch of cool stuff coming out. There's going to be like the Moon Knight, Doctor Strange, and the Obi-Wan series, and a whole bunch of stuff. Might have one about the Stan Lee tribute being removed from Punishong. Might talk about that in a video, but we'll see. So I see you next time. Bye.